This man lost his job for doing his job. How did that happen? He called the cops on a black woman, so she decided to pull her race card. Jasmine Edwards was at the neighborhood pool with her son when a man approached her and demanded identification. The man, later identified as Adam Bloom, said the private pool in the community, Glenridge, was only for residents. Police were eventually called, and Edwards took to Facebook Live to document the July 4th incident. The video has been watched more than 4 million times. In the video, 2 police officers are seen trying to sort out the conflict. Nobody else was asked their ID. I feel this is racial profiling, Edwards tells police. I'm the only black person here with my son in the pool. Right, so the guy that manages the place asks for your ID and you automatically jump to the conclusion that you're being racially profiled? Come on. The video went viral and viewers demanded that Bloom's employer, Sonoco Products, take some action. On Friday morning, the company posted on Facebook that they had fired Bloom. Our core values at Sonoco are built on dignity and respect for all, and we do not condone discrimination of any kind inside or outside the workplace, the post reads. So this guy lost his job because a bunch of online vigilantes are virtue signaling and demanding that the company he works for do something about the situation. A situation nobody knew anything about, but that didn't stop Sonoco from firing the guy regardless of context. Mr. Bloom's lawyers wrote this letter on his behalf explaining what happened. For the last 7 years, Mr. Bloom has been the pool chair for his local homeowners association. In that capacity, he works to hire the lifeguard, hire staff to maintain and clean the pool, and work with members to set and enforce the pool rules and regulations. The regulations in place at the pool in question include only allowing neighborhood residents access to the pool. These regulations are necessary as people frequently engage in behaviors that are either unfair or unsafe for fellow pool members, such as smoking on the pool deck, excessive drinking, or misuse of memberships by passing around pool cards and allowing non-members access to the pool. She says she was asked to identify herself because she was the only black person there, but really she was asked to identify herself because she was the only stranger there. It's a community pool for community members only, and the guy's been there for 7 years and he obviously didn't recognize her. When violations of these regulations occur, it is Mr. Bloom's job to either address and correct the violation or remove the member from the pool. Over the past 7 years, Mr. Bloom has had to ask for IDs of pool patrons and remove those who did not have valid membership, an average of 4 times every season, in an effort to enforce the pool's adopted regulations. The people removed have included people of all ages and races. Unfortunately, Mr. Bloom's enforcement of the pool's regulation recently became problematic. Over the recent 4th of July holiday, a fellow board member approached Mr. Bloom with concerns regarding one of the pool patrons, who was later revealed to be Miss Jasmine Edwards. This board member alleged that Miss Edwards was not familiar to her, so the board member asked Miss Edwards for her address. When the board member asked where she lived, Miss Edwards allegedly gave her address on a road in a neighborhood where houses were not yet built. This could have been a misunderstanding on the woman's part. Nonetheless, it was relayed to Mr. Bloom. The woman then asked Mr. Bloom to verify Miss Edwards' address and her pool membership. Normally, the pool would have a sign-in sheet where pool members list their names and address in which Mr. Bloom could have referenced. Unfortunately, the sign-in sheet was not set out that day. In discharge of his duty, Mr. Bloom approached Miss Edwards and asked her for her address. Miss Edwards gave Mr. Bloom a different address than the one she told the other board member. We know now that this was in fact Miss Edwards' correct address. However, having received conflicting information on Miss Edwards' address, Mr. Bloom politely asked to see Edwards' ID to verify the address so the issue could be concluded and everyone could get back to enjoying the 4th of July. At this point, Miss Edwards accused Mr. Bloom of racial profiling. So clearly the guy was doing his job, and because he got conflicting information, he had to make sure. so he had to ask for ID. And of course, the first thing she jumps at is that it's because she's black. As a result of the incomplete and misleading video of these events, and because she pulled her race card, and the social media frenzy that followed, Mr. Bloom has received death threats, lost his job, has been forced to resign from the Homeowners Association. He has had to leave his home for a safe location for him, his wife, and his 3 small children. That's what I hate the most about this. This guy and his family's lives are now fucked because this lady couldn't just pull out her ID like she was asked. No, she had to make it about race. It's like every time something happens to a black person, it must have happened because they're black. It's as though she thought, oh, this guy's asking for my ID. He must be a racist. No, you dimwit. He's asking for your ID because you're the only stranger in the damn pool.